You're listening to WCAT Radio, your home for authentic Catholic programming.
So Taming the Lion Within, for all of us who have anger, either from rarely to red-hot, white-hot anger. This is quite a book, and you've managed with this Taming the Lion Within. You've got a couple of workshops even on it, right?
Oh, yes. Well, the book itself, Taming the Lion Within, 5 Steps from Anger to Peace, has been published twice, reprinted presently by Honor Books and Media, but there's also a workshop to go with it done by my 10 daughters and granddaughter to go with it so that it can be used even better with groups. And I'm going to tell you all about that at the end.
Okay. So what exactly caused you to write this book?
Oh, okay. All right. I've been an angry person since I was a little kid. I can never remember not having fits of anger to the degree that my twin sister used to say, I pity your husband who's going to have to be screamed at all day long. Anyway, so when I became a Catholic, I thought that all that would go away. But no, I was always confessing anger. So this one priest who was hearing my confession, he said after many years of hearing my confession about anger, he said, well, I could absolve you, Rhonda, all the time, over and over again, but maybe you need to get to the root of this. So bearing that in mind, I went to teach at age 58. I went to teach at Franciscan University of Steubenville. And what do you know, a graduate student came up to me and gave me a flyer about a workshop on anger, how to overcome anger, fear, and depression that he was running to advertise to my students. And I looked at the description and I said, this is for me. This will please my confessor. I will go to these workshops.
Okay.
So I get to the workshop, and what do you know? They're based on a whole system which is now called cognitive therapy. But this system was devised by a Jewish immigrant psychiatrist who was practicing in Chicago at a big medical center. And he noticed that his patients would do very well one-on-one with him. But then when they went home, they couldn't cope with daily life because of anger, anxiety, and depression and other syndromes. So he started little groups, and he called it recovery way before 12-Step had the term recovery. So this is now called Recovery International, and it's all around the world. And guess who the most people are in Israel and Ireland, places full of anger issues. Anyway, so I started going to this group, and I loved the group. It helped me enormously. It has all sorts of little tools like 12-Step, which many of you are familiar with.
Sure.
And it helped me very much, and I tried to talk it up to all my angry Catholic friends. However, most of them didn't like the idea because many, many Catholics are allergic to psychology in certain ways. So someone said to me, why don't you write a book putting together Abraham Lowe's terrific ideas about anger and put it in the context of Catholic spirituality, and then they'll come to the groups to do it. And it worked. That's what I did. So I called the book Taming the Lion Within, 5 Steps from Anger to Peace, and one of the steps involves Abraham Lowe's tools, but it's based on, obviously, it's a sin to be angry all the time, see? So if you're a good Catholic and you're trying to be, a holy Catholic and to love the Prince of Peace You don't want to be angry all the time. So, okay. So how do you deal with it? So the chapters in the book are: step 1, admitting I am an angry person. Step 2, identifying my type of anger. Step 3, understanding my anger. And step 4, taming the lion day by day. And step 5, the lion lies down with the lamb. And so I'm going to tell you a little bit about things from each of those chapters. But before we go further, Cynthia, do you admit to being angry?
Oh, yes. Not often. But when I do get angry, it's not pretty. But I usually have a reason to get angry. It's not like I just get angry for nothing.
Okay, see, that's a key word you just used. You said angry about nothing. Well, people who have real big problems with anger as their main sin, we get angry at everything, not just big things, but everything. However, so the first thing the thing about admitting I am an angry person, think about it this way. Many people will not say, I'm an angry person, I have anger problems, I have to go to confession for anger. Why not? Even though everybody would say they were angry people. Because the underlying supposition that we have is I'm angry because everybody else is obnoxious. Not my fault. Anyone would be angry if people treated them the way they dare to treat me. See? Yeah, I understand. So admitting I'm an angry person is a very, very important step. Sure. See? So you can't fix something. Yeah, you can't fix it unless you admit to it. Right. So one thing would be someone trying to decide whether as a result of listening to this show about Taming the Lion Within, 5 Steps from Anger to Peace, you could have just clicked on it out of curiosity. But what you might do is ask the people who know you the best, would you say I'm a kind of angry person? Well, but this brings us to the second chapter, which is identifying what type of anger I have. So there are many people who don't have hot anger. Hot anger would be when you yell at people, throw things, at the worst, murdering people. That's hot anger. Okay. Now, if you're listening to this and you have murderous anger, you need to go for psychological help, not just just buy a book. Okay. Yeah. But assuming that your anger isn't that extreme, okay, that would be hot anger. And in the book, they have a little quiz which helps people see whether they have hot anger or cold anger. But at least half the people I know who are angry, half the people, a third of the people I know aren't angry. I would say 2/3 of the 2/3 that are angry, half a hot anger and half a cold anger. And cold anger doesn't look as bad. See, hot anger is kind of embarrassing. You make a scene and people look at you with horror. But cold anger can be just as bad, if not worse, which cold anger is you don't yell and scream. You withdraw from people, reject them, despise them, make statements in your head, I'm never going to talk to that family member again, maybe for 4 years. See, so you never yelled at this person, but you made up your mind that your anger was so great at their unforgivable sins, crimes against you, that you're never going to talk to them again. So that's very serious, especially when you consider that every day most of us who are listening to this show are saying the prayer, the Our Father, forgive us our trespasses as we forgive those who trespass against us, at least once a day. That's 365 times a year, and there are people you can't forgive. Duh. What's that?
Yeah, there's a problem. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So people like that can have no inner peace.
Well, have no inner peace. I don't
or
know.
Very little.
We have pockets of anger that are very kind of hidden. I wouldn't say that exactly. It's hard to say, but certainly anger is an opposite to peace. Now, there is such a thing as good anger. What would be good anger? When we get to the part of understanding our anger, the step on understanding our anger, you will see that in Scripture there's a type of anger that is good, which is called righteous anger. What is righteous anger? You hate the fact that Hitler wanted to take over the world, killing all these people. So you hate Hitler. You should hate Hitler. I mean, you should, well, okay. Whether you should forgive him if he repented and you were on the team judging him at the last moment, that's another story. But you should hate what Hitler was doing. Okay. Now, you should hate abortion, the killing of innocent babies. We should hate police brutality insofar as it exists, even if some people exaggerate it and act as if all police do this. Okay, I get angry at people who act as if all police are bad. Most of the police I've met are trying to protect me and risking their lives to protect people. So I get angry at people who make it as if all police are brutal wretches, you know. But anyway, insofar as police brutality is real, we should hate that. So we should be angry at anything that is evil. We should be angry at. We should be angry for that matter, at our own sin. We should be angry at ourselves for sinning. But, okay, most of our anger, the type that I'm dealing with in Taming the Lion Within, is not righteous anger. It's peevish anger every time something doesn't go my way. See?
Yeah, I understand.
Yeah. So a typically angry person, especially hot anger, every frustration makes us feel angry. So, for instance, just the fact that because of Corona, I can't get something at the store is enough for me to stamp my foot either literally or in my imagination and say, when is this damn pandemic going to be over? See, that's kind of sputtering resentment at every frustration. So that comes down to just not being willing to accept that the world is filled with little crosses every single day ever since the fall of Adam and Eve. See? It's very irrational because the idea is everything should go smoothly for me. I should have an easy life where everything goes smoothly. And as a matter of fact, the way I analyze it in my book, Taming the Lion Within, is a sort of unconscious supposition that some of us who tend to anger have is, I'm the heroine of the drama of life. The other people are secondary characters, or what's called cameos, like walk-ons. They should all say what will enhance my role, see? So, for instance, if you were a teacher, as many of you who are listening are probably teachers, you're a teacher, the students are secondary characters. They should all applaud every big truth that I enunciate They should love my class. They should give me beautiful evaluations. They should ace the test because I'm such a good teacher. See, like that, it's totally unrealistic, right?
Right.
I mean,
right.
See? So, okay, so now when we get to this thing, so understanding my anger partly has to do with just recognizing these kind of syndromes. So the book gives you all sorts of examples of types of causes of anger that many people have, and what's underlying that anger, what wrong assumptions underlie that anger. But many of these, I did a lot of research when I wrote the book from psychologists who had written about anger. And one of them that's fascinating because so concealed is what psychologists call passive-aggressive. And what passive-aggressive is, can you give an example, Cynthia, just so they hear someone else for a little while?
Yeah, sure. So it's when someone agrees with you. I've had people agree with me, but the way they phrase their agreement or the tone of voice or facial expression shows that they're really not agreeing.
Okay, that would be an example. A very common example would be you're doing things with people and you have meetings. And,
oh, yes.
And they always come late to the meetings. So they don't want to say, I think your meetings are a total waste of time. I hate going to meetings. To hell with you. They don't say that at all. They say, oh, yes, a meeting, I'll be there. But then, usually unconsciously, they come late as a little revenge for having to do something they don't want to do. Now, this is extremely dangerous in family life, like take marriage. So some married couples fight over every decision, and they're yelling at each other, and that's bad. That's very bad. I mean, they have to come to some way of coming to compromises in their lives. On the other hand, there are others where one or both never says anything. Or one day they walk out of the house and never come back. But they never said anything bothered them because they're just hating it. See?
Yeah,
so that's
they don't
type
express
of,
it.
That's a type of cold anger. So, okay. So all this is awful. So what is the remedy for all of this? Is when we get to step 4, we get to taming the lion day by day. And there I have the tool that this Abraham Lowe used in his group Recovery International. And I bring some of those tools in with little scenarios so that people can identify with what's going on. Okay. So one of them that is very, very useful is expect frustrations every 5 minutes. You won't be disappointed. Okay. This is a funny tool, which is the opposite of this. I'll say it again. Expect frustrations every 5 minutes. You won't be disappointed. So if you think of people who you see as being peaceful rather than angry, this is what I see. I have many friends like this. Okay. I watch them in their daily life. Something happens that's frustrating. Like there was going to be a mass at the church, but there's no mass because of Corona, and no one put it on the Facebook. Something like that. Okay. People who are not angry people will just say to themselves, oh, that's too bad. I'm sorry I drove here and there wasn't a mass. And maybe they would pray, God, give me the same graces I would have gotten if there was a Mass today. See, something like that. But the angry person says, why didn't they let me know? Even though they know, even though you're not even in the parish, they're supposed to have let you know. See?
Yeah.
See, so you're always blaming everyone. So the thing is, but it takes years to do this. You have to keep practicing this change of orientation where instead of thinking life should be on earth, should be cross-free, I should have beautiful, easy days. I have a cute little saying about that easy day thing, okay? When people say, have a great day, I want to say to them, oh, you mean I should have a day like Jesus did? I should suffer greatly for the sins of the world. Is that what you mean by a great day?
Oh, boy. Yeah.
See what I mean?
So
this thing, if we start with the idea, I should have a great day, what we really mean is a day where everything I want happens and nothing frustrates me. So instead, if we keep repeating this tool, expect frustrations every 5 minutes, you won't be disappointed. Then I gradually move from this idealistic version of what life should be like, centering around my needs and wants, etc., to expecting frustrations and rolling with the punches and, keeping things, or people would say keeping things in proportion. So another one of these tools that we use in that whole Abraham Lowe recovery. By the way, those groups still exist all over the world. If you just punch in recovery, Google Recovery International, you can see where there's a group, either person to person, or groups online, or groups by telephone, where people learn these things and relate your own daily life with your own examples until you get out of the habit of hot anger or cold anger. So you have to get out of that habit gradually, etc. So another one is it's not a 911. So the way angry people act is, how could he treat me that way? I'm going to shun this person for the rest of my life because he did X. And so you describe in your head what someone did to you and build it up to a monstrosity, as if no one in the world ever was treated so badly as sweet little me.
Right.
Okay. So now the thing is, so then we relate that in the other step. We get into the next step is the whole spirituality thing of working out. It's called the lion lies down with the lamb. Step 5 is we work through things about anger at God. We work through forgiveness exercises. See, it's very, very important to forgive, especially the greatest real wrongs that were done to us. See, because if we don't forgive those things, then we have this, wound that maybe we're not even aware of, and we want to take revenge. When we don't forgive, we take revenge on everyone who was like that person who hurt me the most and that kind of thing. And so there are very good things about that. And then it leads you, by the end of the book, into greater contemplative prayer, because by contemplative prayer, I mean where you just sit in the presence of God, meditate on Scripture perhaps, but mostly just let God love you. And the point, what I see, especially in so many adoration chapels that are in the church nowadays, is people come in, they walk in looking disgruntled, angry, tired. They come out looking peaceful and happy. So what happens in there is when you're very close to the heart of God in adoration, Eucharistic adoration, you feel wonderful. And so you realize none of these things has ruined your day or your life. See, the angry person, the assumption is, he ruined my life, or he ruined my day, or they ruined my day. You know, especially management and employees. I'm an employee, and the manager ruined my day by criticizing me wrongly for something I didn't do. They did it. You see what I mean? Okay, so that's the idea. Now, the thing is, in the book, there are questions for the reader that are very helpful, but I have two daughters who are techies, and as a gift to me a few years ago, they liked the book so much because they considered that Recovery International helped me be less angry with them. So they're very fond of this system. So they said they happen to be techie people who work on making beautiful courses out of people's materials. So they put together a workshop, even better, that's right online. If you go to Taming the Lion Within, En route books, you'll see the book with beautiful illustrations that En route. En route is the sponsor of WCAT Radio. Right. En route books, and then if you scroll down on there, Taming the Lion will come up. You scroll down after it says how to buy the book. There's a thing you can click on to do this workshop based on it, which you could do with a group with great profit.
Right.
Okay. So you probably have questions, Cynthia.
Well, I think it's interesting because there are certainly people who react with anger frequently. But I do think that there are times when anger is appropriate, as you said, the righteous anger. And I don't know how people, if you have righteous anger because someone has done something really wrong to you, not something in your imagination or something that you've enlarged in your head. I don't know how, when you have the righteous anger, you are able to cope with that, because I would think that would have the same kind of bad effects on a person as any kind of anger, the hot or the cold anger.
Oh, all right. When you have righteous anger, the point would be to admit, to state in your head over to other people the wrong that is being done or the wrong that was done to you, for instance, as a child, and then to come to the realization that God works through this bad thing in order to help you to be the person that you are. So, for instance, the patience of a person. I give a very, very simple example. Many people, when they drive, they curse out the bad drivers as they pass by.
Yeah, right.
Okay. But I had a colleague who I was carpooling with, and every time he saw something bad, he interrupted talking to me and said a prayer. He would say, "Oh, God, please help this poor little old lady to drive better. She's going to have an accident."
Yeah,
okay.
That's good.
So he turned this bad thing, which is bad driving, is very unloving to other people, and, it's wrong to drive badly, especially if you can help it. I mean, if it's not just stupidity, but it's just because you're in a hurry and you don't care about anyone else. But even if you're in a hurry and you don't care about other people, you turn into prayer and forgiveness of the other. And it seems to me you can only do this when you feel so close to God that you know other people can't ruin your life. Nobody can ruin your life, because life eternal is infinite joy, and no one can take that away from you. So
okay.
So I find that well, a thing that I find very helpful is to see what the underlying fear underlying the anger is. So if I'm angry at a boss, the underlying fear is because he's judging me wrongly, he's going to fire me one day, for instance. So now, even if that was true, the thing is that God could use that for me to get a different job, or he could use it to build up after all, God himself in the form of his son Jesus, he didn't have people didn't treat him justly, did they?
No.
And that was used for the redemption of the whole world. So the assumption, to try to in prayer to bring the fear to God, so he can console us and show us how nothing anyone else does that is unjust. Like, in the war, say Hitler's war, millions of people turned to God in prayer as they were being, even as they were in the concentration camps, or even if they were being bombed in the London Blitz or something like that. They turned to God in prayer, and God brought good out of that for the soul of each person. So even though the thing is wrong, the fear, the sort of anger where you just spit and curse type of anger, or cold anger where you say, I can never forgive that person. See, that doesn't bring good at all.
No, it doesn't. No, I understand. But I do think that it's an important point, because sometimes I think righteous anger can be carried too far, so to speak, and you're giving a good solution to it. So how you say that this has helped you enormously, or?
Oh, okay. It's helped me. Writing the book helped me to put together what I would do, what I know anyway about Catholic spirituality, to put it together with the psychological insights of this whole system, Recovery International, to put them together in a synthesis that other people can use. And people have told me that the book helped them enormously.
That's good. So, certainly anger is a problem for many people. And the example you give of people just driving, is excellent. And I think of how many people in this country, when you think of the fights people get into and the actual murder that occurs, it's really a serious problem in this country, and I assume in the world as a whole.
Well, it goes all the way back. People blame it on all different things. Like people say, people are so angry because they're in big cities, or people are so angry because of the pandemic or something like that. Well, Cain killed Abel. Cain killed Abel right in the field with no one else around.
Yeah. It's true. There's no question that the effect of original sin is still with us strongly. It's not going. We thank God we have redemption now, but we are always living under that pall of original sin. So it's a good point. And it is really, when you consider it, we have the actual recording of the first murder in the Bible, and it's a murder within the very first family. So it's very, it's a powerful story.
I often think of, because in the different prayers of the church and the liturgy of the church, you go through the whole highlights of the Old Testament every few years. And when you come to this whole thing of the jealousy of Saul, the King Saul for David, you know, the murderous rage because David was winning all the applause, that kind of thing.
Yes.
And just anger because of envy is huge, huge thing.
Yeah. I agree. Well, it's an interesting book. I think it's a workbook. The workshop and reading the book may help a lot of people, and that's a very valuable ministry. You know, when you think of the degree of anger in the world. So I'm glad you wrote it.
Oh, thank you. Well, thank you. So again, if you want to get the book, just put in. It took me the longest time because I'm not very techy to realize with any book, all you have to do is put in on the search the name, the title of the book, and the author's name, and it'll come up.
Yep, that's right.
So it is right on if you're listening to this radio show, En route Books is right on your screen, and you can just move to En route Books and check out the title, Taming the Lion Within, 5 Steps from Anger to Peace by Ronda Chervin. That's me.
Very good. Well, Rhonda, I want to thank you for letting me interview you again. And you have quite a few other books we should be interviewing you on. We just haven't gotten around to it yet.
Yes, good. Well, I've been interviewed on WCAT on some of these books, and I've done shows myself on some of the books. Some of them are free, by the way, just for postage, because there are a lot of extras around or whatever. So, but of course, I would be happy to do other interviews about them because I wrote them. This is something maybe you don't. Maybe some of the. I find people don't realize this. Authors, unless you're as famous as Stephen King, you don't make money. The author doesn't make the money. The money that's made is by the bookstore and by the publisher, but not by the author. So when authors come on and push their books, it's not because they're looking for sales. It's because we know we put our whole heart and soul into writing the book, because we know how important it could be and how helpful it could be. And our great joy is I get emails, practically once a week I get an email from someone who read some book of mine maybe 40 years ago and said how it helped them. That's our greatest joy.
You're right. It is nice when you know that something you've written has had an impact on someone's life. No question about it.
Yes.
Yeah, it's more important than the money, which there's not much of, as you mentioned. Yeah.
Right.
Well, anyway, I want to thank you for letting me interview you again, Rhonda, and I'll be in touch so we can make some other appointments, because I think every radio show has different, I don't know if I'd say fans, but different listeners. And so some of them may not have heard about your other books. So I'll get in touch with you so we can make some more appointments.
Good. Yes. Thank you, Cynthia. So let's close with a prayer. Oh, Jesus.
Yes.
You want us to have righteous anger, but you don't want us to have hateful anger. And you don't want us to be consumed with anger. You want us to have your peace. So we ask you, Jesus, to send your Holy Spirit to us to show us how to deal concretely with all the reasons that we feel angry and how to turn that anger into long-suffering and loving prayer for others. Amen.
Amen. Have a good night, Rhonda, and thank you for letting me interview you.
Good. Thank you. Yes, God bless you. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Hello, God's beloved. I'm Annabelle Mosley, author, professor of theology, and host of Then Sings My Soul and Destination Sainthood on WCAT Radio. I invite you to listen in and find inspiration along this sacred journey we're traveling together to make our lives a masterpiece and, with God's grace, become saints. Join me, Annabelle Mosley, for Then Sings My Soul and Destination Sainthood on WCAT Radio. God bless you. Remember, you're never alone. God is always with you.
Thank you for listening to a production of WCAT Radio. Please join us in our mission of evangelization. And don't forget, love lifts up when knowledge takes flight.